And welcome to Sports Talk Line, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. And on today's episode, we're going to be previewing the NFL draft. Even though some people opted out of 2020 college football season, they ain't opting out of the NFL draft. Today, we got Steven Vanover. Steven, feel free to introduce yourself.
All right, Steven Vanover here, Sports Talk Line. You'll find me, Steven Vanover, on Twitter. Thank you.
All right, and we got making his debut episode, Eric Sharp. Eric, how you doing today?
Doing great. I'm the Tortured Cowboys fan. You can find me on Twitter at EMSharp. Ready to roll.
All right, and here's all the people that are upset that you're a Tortured Cowboys fan. All right, so getting down to the NFL draft, it seems like the consensus pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars is Trevor Lawrence. Do I got that right? Steve, what do you have to say about Trevor Lawrence?
All right, well, come on. Yes, I'm done.
All right, Eric, after Steve dropped that pipe bomb on us, what else can you say for us?
Unless somehow there's a big smoke screen and that fellow from Ohio is going to shock the world and be allowed to shock the world, yeah, I'd go with Lawrence as well.
Gotcha. Now, I think after all that stuff going on and we got the number one pick selected, number two gets a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we have the New York Jets. They traded Sam Darnold, and it looks like they're going to be picking a quarterback. Eric, which quarterback do you think the Jets are going to be picking?
The fella out of BYU. I don't think there's a question about that unless they want to try to fill more spots than that role is going to require.
Yes, I think Zach Wilson, quarterback from BYU, taking over the fine line of BYU quarterbacks such as Jim McMahon and Steve Young. It looks like he's going to step up and he's going to go from Utah to the big lights of New York City. But, you know, that kind of seems like to be solidifying as number two. Number three is when things get really, really interesting. And that's where we get the San Francisco 49ers. Van, what do you have to tell us about who do you think the San Francisco 49ers will pick? Because they're going quarterback, right?
Well, I'm glad you brought this up because I think pick 2 and 3 are interchangeable. I don't think it matters. It's going to be Zach Wilson and Justin Fields. Justin Fields and Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson and Justin Fields. Justin Fields and Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson and Justin Fields. Okay, now we're moving on to who's going to take Kyle Pitts or not.
Well, you know, Van, my counterpoint is, though, too, there was some Mac Jones buzz where Mac Jones would go.
Yeah, but that was in Hawaii. And they didn't have the bowl down there this year, so it's all good. It's all good. He's either going to drop to the Patriots or not, okay? It's just, he is who he is. He's the pocket QB, and in today's NFL, that isn't what sells the sizzle, and sizzle is what gets you picked in the top 5, not steak. Mac Jones is steak. I personally think Mac Jones is going to have a long career in the NFL. I don't think he's going to go top 5.
Okay, that's very interesting. You want to know something? You want to know what my counterpoint is with quarterbacks from Alabama? The last Alabama quarterback to be successful in the NFL is Joe Willie Namath. To put it in perspective, he led the Jets to the Super Bowl. So I really think, though, too, now here's something I can ask Eric this question. I really feel like when you're a top quarterback, like a Justin Fields who goes to Ohio State, if you're a Mac Jones at Alabama, USC used to have this issue too. When you have a pro at every position and you're the quarterback, you look fantastic.
Yep.
So do you think that the elite quarterbacks, the Justin Fields, Mac Jones, that they're going to struggle when they go to the NFL because they're going to be seeing pressure like they've never seen in the last 4 years? How do you respond to that, Eric?
Yes, almost 99.9% of the time you're going from perhaps a perfect bubble in college with all those positions nailed down just right to half a team in the NFL, regardless of the increase in speed that we all talk about, right? And then you're going to have to ask that player who was so elite in college to find a way to succeed with less. You hear about it with all the current NFL quarterbacks, the couple that are elite, even you look at Patrick Mahomes when he lost his 2 tackles before the Super Bowl, didn't look so elite, right? But that's what you're going to require these guys who are expected to start sometime during the first year to do with less? Can you still can you lead that receiver? Can you still fit it into that receiver? Can you escape a bad pocket?
Van, what do you think about this?
I just think it's a hilarious question because ultimately what you're talking about, Tom, is the New York Jets. And the New York Jets is where quarterbacks go to die. Okay? So like you worded it so beautifully. Yeah, in college, you throw here, there, and you're not going to get the time to. That's right. You're going to be on the New York Jets where you're not going to have those players around you because they traded them away. They either traded the draft picks away, or they traded the players away, or they traded the coach away, or they traded all three of them away, or they cut them.
Or they trade the general manager away, or they trade the owner away, or the family.
So it's the New York Jets. I don't think it matters. But San Francisco, I think, you bring up a valid thing. And that, whether they get Justin Fields or Zach Wilson, and with the Jets picking second, we don't know who they're going to pick, dude. We really do not know.
I think, you know what? I think the Jets made their selection. I do believe it's going to be Zach Wilson, or else they're going to trade Sam Darnold. I think Darnold, I don't know if you can argue, but I'll tell you this. The lifespan of a quarterback keeps on getting shorter and shorter. Doesn't matter if you're a first-round draft pick anymore.
The luckiest quarterback in the 2021 NFL draft is Sam Darnold. He's leaving the Jets.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. Here's my counterpoint. When you look at all the teams in let's say the top three, the Jacksonville Jaguars are in a complete rebuild. You can say that the New York Jets, they're still the Jets. They get some glimpses. They're trying to solidify the quarterback spot. If I'm a quarterback, I want to go to the San Francisco 49ers.
But isn't there already a quarterback there? And that's what I wanted to ask you about.
But here's the thing, though, too. If you're the first-round pick, you're going to get your chance. And you can look at the 49ers. They had most of their team on IR, and they still were respectable. They still have a solid ground game. And that will make life so much easier for a rookie quarterback or a new quarterback if you have a solid ground game.
Tight ends and running backs, right? Tight ends and running backs. That's what a quarterback's best friend.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we got that. But I think, too, we should probably move on. Instead of maybe focusing on some teams, or let's try to talk about two players who decided to opt out of this 2020 college football season. And first, we're going to go with the big guy up front. I'm going Penny Sowell from Oregon. This guy is a beast. Now, when we look at him, he protected some high-level guys. Eric, where do you see Sowell going?
Let's see. He can't escape the top 8, maybe the top 6. That guy has played all 5 positions on the offensive line and looked good doing it.
Excelled at. Yeah, you called it.
Yeah. There's no risk with him. And geez, if the Bengals were in a position to nab him, instead of you see all their fans screaming, "Don't take a receiver. We know we need one." But your quarterback is going to be dead if you don't improve that line. So I expect him to perhaps go to them.
Okay, that's good. So you see Sewell going to the Bengals. Dan, who do you see Sewell going to?
Well, I'd like to offer a particularly unique perspective to me. What he said.
There you go. You know what? Who needs to copy and answer when you got Steve Hanover on?
I mean, it's right there. I don't disagree with a word he said. This guy is the real deal. You saw it. Every NFL scout saw it. He's not dropping out of the top 10.
Now, let me ask you this other question, though, because we saw Jamar Chase, Penny Sowell, both of them opted out of the 2020 college football season right before they would be draft eligible. Do you see this becoming a trend? Because remember Jalen Smith? He was supposed to be a top 10, maybe a top 5 pick, blows out his knee in a bowl game. All of a sudden, you start seeing a lot of these players making those decisions where it's like, you know what? I'm making a business decision. I'm going to wait, get ready for the NFL draft so I know I'm healthy so I get paid. Do you see this becoming more of a popular trend where the top prospects are going to sit out their last year so that they stay healthy and don't have a catastrophic injury? Van, what do you say on that?
I don't think it's going to become. I think it already has become.
Okay. Eric, what do you say?
Yeah, unless suddenly these pro days, which are becoming, due to COVID, the pro days were important, but you've got to judge them by the tape, not the shorts and jogging around in a nice, comfortable environment with players they know left, right, and center. But if those pro days are suddenly held against them because they took the year off and did not do anything to maintain as if they were still with the team, there could be blowback. But as Steve said, it's already here. They're going to have to find a huge reason or receive huge pushback to avoid not doing this, not pursuing this, not making a business decision.
Yeah, I think too, you mentioned the pro days, and I think the 49ers brass spent the time crying in the bathroom on the flight back from Alabama pro day after seeing Jones miss some of those throws. But speaking about another player who sat out the 2020 season, we're going to LSU wide receiver Jamar Chase. This is all from Spinksy, okay? So basically, what were some of the numbers Jamar Chase put up in 2019? 84 receptions, 1,780 yards receiving, 20 touchdowns. This guy is an absolute beast. He helped Joe Burrow win the Heisman. He helped LSU win the national title and take down Alabama. And he's expected to be a top 10 pick. He has the traditional body type of that big physical wide receiver. Eric, where do you see Jamar Chase going in the NFL draft?
Oh man, there's a chance, however small, that he might make it past, say, the Eagles, or he might get to the Eagles. He might make it past the Panthers if they manage to get Pitts. The Eagles, I can't see them getting. If they can get him, if they've got to trade up, they'll do it. They need their kind of Des Bryant. He doesn't have the quick twitch, but he's so darn sturdy. He can handle it down the field, whoever comes.
Gotcha. Okay. So, all right, that's an interesting take. Van, what do you think about Jamar Chase? Where do you see him going?
He's not making it past the trio of Dolphins, Lions, and Panthers. He's not going to make it past that trio right there. All three of those guys need wide receivers. And in this NFL draft, he is which has a ton of talented wide receivers. And I might mention a ton of those smaller, really fast guys that Kansas City loves. But Jamar Chase is the prototypical NFL, as you described so well, Tom. Would you not agree with that?
Yes, I totally agree. Devontae Smith, he had a.
Could you see Eli Manning throwing to him in the Super Bowl?
No, that was Steve Smith. Come on.
Sorry.
Come on now. You got to get that. Remember, Eli Manning pretty much had two different crews of wide receivers to win Super Bowls with. But when you look at it, too, the Alabama wide receivers, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, both of them had monster seasons. Jamar Chase, he sat out. And I think, too, you hit it. I think wide receiver, this is the one. If you need that weapon, on the outside, that's something you can do. It's going to be interesting to see what the Bengals do at number 5. Because I think Dolphins are thinking about moving out of 6 and drafting an offensive lineman. There might be a trade with Washington going down. Yep. One of my favorites, Eric Flowers, is being traded. But that's something to keep in mind, though, too. Where,
just jump in real quick. The Bengals at number 5, okay? That speaks volumes as to whether they pick an offensive lineman for the reasons that Eric just, I thought, laid out so well, or they say, screw it, let's sell some tickets, go downfield.
Sell some tickets to the hospital room?
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, I think, though, too, as deep as this draft is as wide receiver, last year's draft was tackle. So I could understand if you needed a tackle, you could wait for the second round or offensive line help. That offensive line isn't as deep. Wide receiver is deeper. So you could obviously get maybe a wide receiver in the second round, maybe to address it. But also you need your quarterback, especially Burrow had a season-ending injury. So you got to keep that in consideration. He's your franchise guy. He showed some flashes, but man, you need to keep him standing upright, especially in that division going up against, the Browns are a lot better, the Steelers, and also the Ravens. All those three teams are built on defense.
He doesn't have that red-headed pixie dust.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't, to say the least. But switching up, so we talked about some players. Now we're going to talk about some of our favorite teams. Okay, so Eric and Van are Cowboys fans. And I'll be a New York Giant fan, representing the 4-time Super Bowl champions. But now I'm going to ask Eric first. What do you see the Dallas Cowboys doing in the first round besides maybe trying to trade for Eli Manning's jockstrap?
Oh, man. I would love to see them wait patiently while Pitts slides down to their position at 10. It will not happen. I do not want to see Jerry Jones trade up to get him. I assume it will cost too much, and then everyone will be groaning, including their own team. Patrick Surtain, while he is not as aggressive as J.C. Horn, he's also not as handsy. Patrick Surtain is just like his father, steady, technically sound, reliable. He will not upset you. He will only make you happy. Maybe not the happiest, but you will never be upset with him. I wouldn't have a problem with that. But if they're gone, I can see the Cowboys trading down with any number of teams, including the Patriots, if suddenly they're like, we can get our QB at that spot. It's either going to be a couple players that are there, including, God forbid, maybe even Slater. Maybe that's a reach, the OT. But if those couple of players are not there, they're trading back.
Gotcha. Van, what do you see your lovable Dallas Cowboys doing in the first round of the NFL draft?
If they do the smart move, they're going to do what Eric said. They're going to trade back. Because there's just too many talented players that they don't need. They're going to be available at 10. And then at the top of the second round, there is a ton of players that the Dallas Cowboys, not at the top, all over the second round. There are a ton of players that any team could use to really, really increase. I really think this is a second round draft. I think trading down, unless you have a guy that is going to put you over the top, I think trading down is the best move for a lot of teams. Not the teams looking for QBs, okay, obviously. But no, right here, I think trading down. I don't think Patrick Surtain's going to make it to him, which I think is great, because I think Surtain is going to be really good for the first few years. But he has speed issues, and he has quickness issues. And this limits your career. He's a one-contract guy, in my opinion. No, he's going to get more than one contract, but I'm talking about for what you paid for, he's a one-contract guy.
It's not a prime time.
Caleb Farley has a lot more upside, but he's a Sean Lee guy, okay? Let's move him to the second round, or not at all. So, again, I think there's a lot better options for them down later. I think trading down is the option unless they get one or two guys that fall to them, one of three guys that fall to them. Mm-hmm. And we've already talked about them. Penei Sewell, you take him.
Don't they have didn't they get 4 comp picks to play with as well?
Yes, they did. They got plenty of picks. But if you get Penei Sewell, you take him. If you get, not Mac Jones. Okay. If you get the linebacker, you take him.
Micah Parsons.
Yeah, and if you get Kyle Pitts, you take him.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think other than those three players, well, of course, if you get one of the QBs that fall for some reason, Trevor, Zach, or Justin, you trade down. So again, trade down is what I think they probably should do. But if any of those three guys make it, snap them up.
All I'll say is this. I'll be rooting for two things. The Giants and the Cowboys to draft a quarterback in the first round. I want him to be like Trey Lance or something like that, just so I can see and revel in that. But
well, let me take over here for a moment.
Yes.
The Cowboys have the 10th pick of the draft, but the 11th pick of the draft is owned by the New York Giants. And there's a lot going on there because they have a GM who Ooh, has he done a good job? Has he not done a good job? Has he done a good job? Has he not done a good job?
Well, this could be his last draft. And I think he, if things don't work out, the Giants ownership is not happy with the progress they made. I'll put it in quotes. I do think they're happy with the Joe Judge as head coach.
What if he drafts a cornerback? I'm just asking.
Well, you heard my reaction to Daniel Jones, which ironically enough, Daniel Jones is still on the team on like a lot of first round quarterback picks. So you can say that going
Have
for
you
him.
Given up on Daniel Jones, Tom McAllister?
No. But
okay, I haven't either. I still think the guy can play.
I think we'll go with this with Daniel Jones. He hasn't lost a job, but he hasn't overwhelmingly won it either. He's still like that too. And I really think the Giants offense, when they went on that winning streak, they actually put a few games in a row.
Has he earned his 5th-year contract?
We'll see after this year because now he has the weapons.
I think that's the proper attitude. What do you think, Eric?
You got to see how the offensive line is and all that.
But, is it if he has if he gets himself a reasonable offensive line, they got most of the pieces in place. He's got his receivers. He's got at least 2. They're good. He's got 2 tight ends now. One, they picked up Rudolph from the Giants, who's still very in a more than Jason Witten way. Okay. Is it arguable that his time with Jason Garrett, Jason Garrett's perhaps it took Jason Garrett a long time to get Tony Romo to stop with his impulsivity and some of the turnovers, and perhaps he dragged that spirit with him to Daniel Jones, and that's what Daniel Jones is going against?
Well, I think too, offensive line develops. I do see some stats on Pro Football Focus, I believe, where when Daniel Jones has a clean pocket, he's a 90.8 grade. And this is something too where they didn't have a big wide receiver. They addressed that in free agency with the signing of Galladay. They did address some needs. They brought back Leonard Williams. They did sign Adoree Jackson as a cornerback. So all of a sudden, their defense should be pretty good. I'm not going to put them in the great category, but their defense should be in the top half, and that's going to be their strength. We're going to have to go back too, though. We haven't mentioned one name, and that's Saquon Barkley. And you got to see if he.
Well, hold on here, Tom. Before we even get up there, I'm going to set the plate for you.
Yes.
And that's like most mock drafts that I've seen, people talking, they're looking at the Giants taking a skill position player here. Mm-hmm. And I just totally disagree with it. I think you two have touched on everything. I think they need to take Tevin Jenkins, who is the most physical offensive lineman available in this NFL draft. I mean, he is nasty. And he can play right tackle and do it well. He can possibly play left tackle, but that isn't what you want him for. You need to solidify that offensive line because you have a quarterback who's played behind a shitty offensive line his entire freaking career and survived. And the stats tell me that when he has time in the pocket, the kid does okay. Now, people want to focus on these boner plays, these head plays. They did the same thing when, who is that other guy? Won a few Super Bowls for you. Yeah, Eli. Yeah. Just like, get over it, man. This is a winning fucking quarterback. Get over it. Draft offensive line. Don't do the Jerry Jones thing and draft skill position players. That's what I'm telling you guys to do, but I think you're going to bone it.
Well, this is my counterpoint for it. They got Andrew Thomas and Matt Pert at tackles, and they also brought back Nate Solder's coming back on a contract too.
Uh-huh. Well, okay, so that's one mistake.
So apparently Solder came in and took a pay cut, and the Giants decided to.
That's valid then. That's valid.
Yeah. So Kevin Zeitler was the lineman they ended up cutting, which was a little bit surprising. But you can pick up a serviceable inside offensive lineman in the second or third round. I can see
But you have to do it. That's my point. They need to draft offensive line, not wide receiver. Wide receiver is the deepest position in this draft, not offensive line. I see them going offensive line early for the same reasons that you talked about this.
Yeah, I think though too. I heard rumors they might make it in a shocking turn of events. The Giants might trade their draft pick to the New England Patriots. The Giants, who haven't traded down in forever, New England Patriots, who haven't traded up in forever.
I think that would be brilliant.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that
at the bottom of the first, they can get a lot better talent for the talent for the line fits the pick.
Yeah, I think you hit it right there too, because I would rather get a right guard, honestly, and be like, you know what, they need an interior lineman. Once the Giants, Andrew Thomas starts to do better going forward. I like Matt Pert at right tackle. You have Nate Solder as a swing tackle. I like those options. I think they can develop together. So I think interior lineman, I think they need more than tackle. And also, if you get Saquon Barkley back, that could be something. It's going to be interesting. This is one. Last year, I pretty much said offensive tackle. The question was going to be which offensive tackle they would draft. This one, I think the Giants truly is a mystery.
By the way, I understand Saquon Barkley has gone vegetarian. I just want to share that with you.
Hey, listen, you know what? If he eats the Cowboys twice a week, twice a season, I'm good with that. Whatever makes him good.
And I'm making that up, by the way. I just messing with you. Okay.
Yeah.
Who was the offensive lineman last year, a couple years ago? Hernandez. He was the one. Yes. Is he still with them?
Yes, he was the second round pick. He's the left
Not
guard.
his best year as they went through offensive line coaches. Would you agree with that? As they cycled through offensive line coaches.
Yeah, they kind of cycled. They kind of had – they fired their offensive line coach midway through the season. They did something new with the offensive line.
The ex-Dallas Cowboys guy.
Yes. But
Columbus.
the Giants – they
got rid of him.
Yes, midseason. Because apparently him and Joe Judge had a disagreement.
And that worked. Because of that, they made the playoffs, went to the Super – okay, it didn't really work, but that's okay.
They almost did. Darn Philly. But no, there was what the Giants offensive line did, which is they didn't play the same players the whole game on the offensive line. They subbed people in and out. So you got to wonder if that's going to carry over to next year. And I think the key word is development.
All right, guys. Well, let's move on down the draft here. And now, since we moved past the first 10 picks, there's really no predicting who's going to pick what in what order at this. So what I'd like to do to you guys is bring up some players that are going to go in the first round, I believe, and then ask you where you think they're going to go and what their pluses are. And we're going to start with a guy that I think could end up freaking anywhere because he's an edge guy. Kwity Paye, Michigan. Come on, who couldn't use him?
Geez, practically everybody.
And he is the top edge guy, but not a consensus. Wow, this is the guy. But everybody's impressed with it. What the hell does that mean?
Will he become a role player or will he elevate to be that difference maker, that bookend?
There are no blue chip edge rushers this year, are there?
Right. Can he be coached up to have that better technique that makes some of the difference?
All right. Well, let me throw another guy at you guys. And this is a guy because, man, everybody knows what a tweener is, right?
Yep.
This guy's beyond a tweener. He's an everythinger. And I'm talking about Jeremiah Owusu-Korama.
Oh, yeah.
Linebacker, Notre Dame, and I say linebacker loosely. Linebacker, edge rusher, safety, slot cornerback. He can do all of those.
You want to know where I'd see him going? I'd see him going to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I hope not. Oh, God.
I think just by your reaction, it tells me because the Steelers are always using those slash guys.
Yes.
And I think that's something, too, that, like there's certain
No pun intended on the slash thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would not want him going to the Ravens. And I would not want him going to the Steelers, but the Steelers
or
would
the
have
Chargers. The Chargers have found out how to use these guys as well.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals had it going on for a while, but I don't think they have that the je ne sais quoi anymore. All right. Another guy, I mentioned him earlier, Tevin Jenkins. the nastiest offensive tackle in the draft. The guy would rather beat you up than block you.
I see that too, though. You mentioned like he's the most physical. I might see him because there's not going to be a run on offensive tackles. I see him going in the second round. Because
The Chargers.
because I see Sowell going.
Okay,
maybe
Tom,
Slater.
real quick. Tevin
Yes.
Jenkins, Samuel Cosme. I see them as being very interesting guys. One super aggressive, the other one super talented.
I would probably, for the NFL, I'd probably go with super aggressive. I think you would want that more in a rookie than super talented, because super aggressive, you're an offensive lineman, you can't back down. And
No.
that will
Right.
that's the way I would feel.
All right.
Yeah.
Question. I'll start with you, Eric.
Yeah.
Running back, Travis Etienne. Is he going to be the first running back off the board?
I think that's entirely possible. They're as attractive as the fella out of Alabama is. There are a few deficiencies in his game that aren't going to put him ahead. I think he's going to go late first round.
Wow. First round running back. I'd love to see it. Tom, flipping back to you. The question I got is at safety. Trevon Moehrig Woodard. Is he a top 15 pick or a bottom 15 pick?
I would say this: safeties, they usually don't go in the top 15. So I got to go with the bottom 15 or second round. It seems like teams love picking safeties in the second round because I think there's a lot of value for that position there. So I would see him going bottom first half, bottom first round, if not second round.
All right, Eric, flipping back to you. Linebacker, and I'm talking Zaven Collins. There's all sorts of different linebackers in the NFL today, but when you can find a guy 260 plus pounds that can fly, he can cover, he can stop the run. Wow. Is there a bad team for this guy?
No, you could probably pick almost any team that's still utilizing the 3-4 and plug him in as someone Parcells would love. Okay, monstrous linebackers. I'd hate to see him go to. The Patriots they don't have enough picks for everybody, but boy, what they would do with him as well.
If he makes it to the Pats, that's illegal. That is literally illegal. Okay, Tom, I'm going to flip up to you because we talked about wide receivers, the prototypical wide receiver. Now I'm going to talk to you about the other thing. I'm going to talk to you about the underwear warrior, Kadarius Toney. Dude, he's got skills you can't teach, but is it going to translate?
I would say this though too, because remember there was no combine. So I think you're going to see,
He's that fast, dude. Don't question it. He's that fast.
I see that though, since there was no combine and they couldn't get the numbers out. I can see the guys that would have the great 40 times and do the X amount bench press. I would see those guys not going as high as they would previous years, and more teams relying on the film than on the scout combine.
But the film is just like blowing you away, dude. I mean, this guy can fly. But not at the combine. There you go. Yeah, you called it. All right, Eric, flipping you back. Cornerback. You always have those guys at cornerback that, oh man, this guy is 6'4", or this guy has a 4.240 or whatever. And then you got the guys, Asante Samuel Jr., who can play the position.
Yeah. He could. He's like a svelte Jordan Lewis from the Cowboys. Okay, he has the ability to not only play in the slot, but given the chance, he could pull off the outside. I know he doesn't have that top end speed, right?
No.
Where he'll get eaten up.
He just plays football. He just plays football.
Maybe he will just out hustle everybody, just like his father did occasionally.
Okay, well, flip that back. Is he the tier 2 of Patrick Surtain?
Yes, I'd say that's arguable.
Ah, cool. Good to know. Because, that's not a negative ascertainment. All right.
No.
Tom, flipping it back over to you. The New York Giants,
Yes.
It is arguable, and I would say easily arguable, that they helped revolutionize the defensive line position as they went after JPP and helped go after that type of player. Christian Barrymore, defensive line, Alabama, a guy that played out of position this last year. I think he's the real deal. Is this a guy the Giants would look at?
I would say this though too, because I'm looking at Barrymore right now. He's a fringe first round, maybe second round pick. But I really do think though too, there's very few elite units you can build that will make you a Super Bowl contender. And one of them is the pass rush. So the Giants, what they did is, okay, they re-signed Leonard Williams to a contract. They need more than Leonard Williams. They need someone else, so if they're able to maybe get a second round pick that can, rush the passer. Davin Tomlinson, he left via free agency. I think Dexter Lawrence is a solid nose tackle. It's interesting to see how Lorenzo Carter will come back. He had a season-ending injury after week 2. I thought he was having some flashes of that edge rusher that the Giants need. So I really think that they need more edge rushers, the New York Giants, to be consistently a contender and a disruptor.
You need 3. You need 3 in today's NFL. It used to be you needed 1, then it was 2, and now it's 3. So it is what it is.
Rotation.
All right, guys, and now here's the last thing, and it's going to be round robin. We've already talked about Rashawn Slater, the offensive tackle. Tom slipped that in. We've already talked about Micah Parsons. I believe both of you slipped that in. But now I'm going to come down to 3 edge rushers because this is a strange edge rusher draft. And, hey, QB drives the draft. I get that. But edge rusher drives the NFL. Jalen Phillips, edge, Miami. Gregory Rousseau, edge, Miami. Jason Owa, edge, Penn State. All 3 of these guys have something weird that's keeping them out of the top conversation. Are they second, third round guys, or are one of these guys going to step up?
Second, third.
Yeah, I would say second or third because I think everyone who's moving around, they're moving up for either, I would say, a wide receiver or a cornerback.
But Jalen Phillips, I mean, that guy's got it all. He can bend. He's got that incredible first step. His only problem was injured his whole life. I believe he came out of the womb with a wounded wing. Okay? It's okay. All right. And he retired due to concussions. And then, no, I'm good. And then he comes back and blows it up. How do you gauge that as an NFL GM?
You need to get the medicals, and I think
What about the head thing? He retired.
You sign him to a 50-50 contract, and he says, "Sure, I'll take it."
I like you, man. Houston Oilers are calling you, okay?
Yeah.
All right. And Houston Oilers. Anybody get that pun? All right, just me. All right. So that's the thing there. This is a strange edge rusher draft. I find there's a lot of those tweener guys. What's his name from Carolina? The 200. A lot of 250-pound guys that have that quick first step. I'm not seeing any DeMarcus Ware. I'm not seeing the 260-pound guys, the 270-pound guys that are going to blow you away with their first step. I'm not seeing that this draft. Are you?
No.
They could become that artificially, but we don't want that. We want the real deal.
No. But I'm seeing those guys that the Seahawks used to love drafting. The 245, 255-pound guys. That you put in on third down or any down, second and 24, whatever,
right,
and let them go. So all right, that's what I'm. So we're gonna close this out. Sleepers, and we're not really taking sleepers so much as spotlight guys. You already gave the Spinksy spotlight, which I love because he's going to be on with us here later. So who are the guys you're looking at the NFL draft and going, you know what? I don't give a heck what round this is. This is a guy catches my eye. All right, who do you got?
You know
One
what?
at a time. Don't everybody jump in at once.
I'll jump in. We kind of hit on it a little bit. I'm going to go with Najee Harris, the running back from Alabama. The reason why, I think he will be, a bottom first round pick. And I think so that means he's going to a well-established team. He's not trying to carry the whole offense. And I think that will allow him, kind of like what Edwards-Helaire did at Kansas City. He could fit into that role where, not all the pressure's on him and, they can give him all the carries in the world they want, and he's on that first round contract.
Right.
So that's what I think they'll do with him.
What I'm struggling with in offering up a name is that I suspect all the trades that have yet to occur in the first round are going to jumble up that last 15 so much that someone we're not thinking at all may just fall in just because of that. That's where I'm struggling. I can't throw a name out there that I'm confident is going to be purposely selected unless these trades that I expect are going to continue happening just shove everything up into that last 15.
I can't disagree with any of that. Wise words. I'm going to just throw a heads up out there to watch out for Kadarius Toney because he's got that kind of crap that the Wonderlic doesn't measure.
Right.
And I don't know what team he's going to be best on, but if he ends up on the Kansas City Chiefs, there should be an investigation. Zaven Collins. Wow. I mean, this is a total linebacker. He kind of gives me a little bit of throwback to a certain Urlacher, a guy that can play the game as it's meant to be played. And for the injury pick, I call this the Sean Lee honorary pick, all right, because he retired and he was always injured. Landon Dickerson, Alabama, center guard. Yeah, he blew out his ACL. Get over it. Draft this guy. He's a real deal.
As long as he doesn't become the injury equivalent of Jonathan Cooper, offensive lineman.
Ouch. Oh.
Mental, physical.
Spank. Okay, point Eric. Okay, got me on that one. All right, guys, let's sign it off here. Going around the room, Mr. Tom McAllister, leave us with some draft wisdom.
All right, everyone. So draft wisdom. I would say this. If you don't have the first pick and you can't get Trevor Lawrence, don't draft the quarterback. Just don't. None of these quarterbacks are really inspiring me.
It worked out so well for the Eagles.
Yeah.
It worked out so well for the Rams. Oh.
No.
No.
It worked out so
Okay.
well for I don't even know. This is something didn't work out for the Buccaneers, didn't work out for the Titans. I feel like build up the team, then make sure the quarterback's select. It feels like all these teams are like, we need the quarterback first.
Just trade for Alex Smith. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, trade
He's free, available, right?
And you will get a winning quarterback. Just trade for Alex Smith.
Didn't he retire? Or, you
Yeah,
can
but bring him out of retirement. Few million, he'll do it.
know what? Bring in Fitzpatrick for a season. He'll have one good season.
There's another one.
And then that's what he does.
All right, Eric, what do you got, man? What do you got?
Unless you need a quarterback, unless you need that game-changing player around which you've got to build the rest of your team for the next 5 years, do not reach, do not trade up, wait for it, or trade back. There's too much depth outside of those key positions that everyone's salivating over in the first 1 through 6.
And the wisdom there is large. The only wisdom I can offer you is from my prison draft aficionado that I met a few years ago. He says, unless you're going to reach around, don't reach at all. So, hey, take that where you want.
And on that note.
And on that note, we are over. And follow Sports Talk Line. We're going to be live on NFL Draft Day, all during the draft. You're going to find all sorts of people. Tom's going to check in. Hopefully Eric's going to check in. We're going to have Nate checking in. We're going to have Josh checking in. We're going to have, actually, there is a list of people that could be checking in. So until then, listen like you play with intensity. Thanks, everybody.